and welcome back to my channel. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Who do I think I am? Don't know. Welcome back! Episode 5. It's not episodes. I've been listening to too much Newlyweds. It's video 5, which I think deserves a pat on the back. What do you think? He's going to want to sit in my lap and I'm comfortable at the moment. I said this to George. He is his most needy when I decide to film anything. Thank you. I have my natural hair today because I have decided to try and put minimal heat on it at the moment. So I don't know if anyone knows, but I am engaged and I'm getting married. So I thought just in the summer, about 6 weeks ago, I got quite a bit chopped off because I have X amount of time until the wedding for it to grow and be healthy and luscious. So if I know that over the next few days I won't need anything that, or I'm doing an event or anything that requires me to put some heat on my hair, then I'm trying my best to just put masks in it and the oils in it, which I do every day, and let it grow, let it grow. I don't imagine I'll have an Elsa ponytail by the time of the wedding, but we can always try. I'm also very inspired by it. I just watched season 3 of the Dallas, Texas cowboy cheerleaders situation, and they all had such long hair, and I said to Jordan, I'm just feeling very inspired to get hair extensions, and I know that just as soon as I've said that, Sophie, who will be watching this, will text me and say a list of pros and cons, but I'm just thinking about it. Today's video is a health update. I haven't really ever done a video like this before, but I did say that this was going to be my most authentic and true and honest form of my social media, so I think it would be good. I also feel a obligation, it's a big word, to be honest about certain health conditions, of which I have, because I think the more we can shout out about them and create awareness is important. And I had never heard of the things that I have when I was young. So, and if I had, maybe things would be different. So, where to begin? When I was 19, maybe, I can't remember if it started before that. Let's say 19 to 22, I had severe abdominal pain. That it did sync up with my cycle, but it also wasn't super I've just done it again. Stop saying super, stop saying super, stop saying super. It didn't sync up with my cycle religiously, but I was in severe abdominal pain. I had a lot of swelling in my tummy, and lots and lots of things happened, which if people do want a longer video of, I can go into it, because again, I do think it's important. I'll have to really think about how it all happened, because it was a lifetime ago. But I ended up having such severe pain that I got some private healthcare. I got some scans done, and they found a mass on my right ovary. I have a condition called endometriosis, which I'm so thrilled is becoming more and more talked about, because when they said it to me when I was 22, I said, I've never heard of that word before and I don't know what it means. On average, it takes 7 years to get diagnosed. Luckily, because I was in a privileged position to have private healthcare, it took me 3. Still 3 years, a bit too many based on how many doctor's appointments I had. I had successful surgery to remove the endometriosis, which was on my right ovary, which it was such a specific pain, I knew that it could only have been there. I love being in an uncomfortable leg position so that the dog can be comfy, but that's what we do when you're a dog mum. Just before my surgery, I had an episode where I ended up in hospital because I had a burst cyst, and when you're in hospital they did all of my bloods and stuff, and they put the results back to my doctor at the time, and the doctor had said, your iron's low, we would say that you're anemic, but it's because of what's going on with your ovaries and stuff. And then when I was diagnosed with endometriosis, the doctors were like, it's because you're a woman, you have heavy periods, so you're losing a lot of blood, so you're anemic. And that was when I was 22, and they said, you know, just go on some iron supplements, it'll come back up, you'll be fine. I also want to say this is not to dig out our NHS because I can't be angry at an establishment who spend their whole lives dedicating to helping others. Sadly, it's a financial, governmental issue. So this is no way to dig out the NHS at all. Fast forward to COVID. So this is 5 years later, I think. 22 when I had the surgery, I think it was 27 during COVID, maybe, yeah, 27. I was working for my dad. I was working Monday through Friday. Sometimes I would do 2 night shifts, Friday, Saturday, so it would alter my working patterns, but I was working like 5-day weeks. I also was going on lots of dog walks. We went on so many dog walks during COVID that when we said walk, my dog actually ran upstairs and hid. But we did a lot of walking, and I did yoga every day. And I started to feel incredibly tired, but I was so used to feeling tired because I'd felt tired since I was 22 that when I felt really, really tired, I thought, I think I'm feeling way more tired than I usually am. So I went to the doctors to get a blood test up in Scotland, and I put my blood test on the Monday morning. I think it was like 11:30, and the doctor had said, you will hear on Friday. And I was like, great. So I remember during COVID, we watched The Chase every day at 5 o'clock because that's when we had our dinner, which I think is really early now for dinner, but I was just used to always having my dinner at 5 o'clock. And we sat down to The Chase, and just as it was starting, I got a call from my doctor's surgery. And I thought, that's weird, because he said I'd find out on Friday. And the doctor said, we need you to come in first thing tomorrow morning. And I was like, right. Clearly I'm just like close to meeting my maker. And they said, I'm really sorry, I can't talk about it, I'm not a doctor. And I said, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to tell me what the problem is because I'm just going to have anxiety attacks until I come to the doctors tomorrow morning, so can you just tell me what's wrong? And she said, right, let me put you through to a doctor. The doctor got on the phone and said, my iron level, for reference, it's meant to be between 35 and 115. 35 is very low. And the doctor said, yours is a 2. And I said, okay, how bad is that? And he said, I've never seen someone with such low iron. I'm assuming you're just lying down all the time. And I was like, no, I'm working and walking. And I had noticed that every now and then my heart would like skip a beat a couple of times, but I didn't. Again, this is all many years later when you kind of put the pieces together. He said, I need you to come in tomorrow because you need to go on very strong iron tablets 3 times a day. I said, okay. I said, have you seen, like, what happens if it goes to 0? And the doctor was like, don't know. I thought, cool. So I went in the next morning, started on my tablets. He said, book an appointment for a month and let's see how much that they've come up by in a month. And I was like, great. So after being on them for a month, I went back and my iron was a 4. So it doubled, but it hadn't gone up anywhere near what he wanted it to. So when I spoke to the doctor, he said, your body can't absorb the iron. I think it's my white cells are too small and your body's not able to absorb the iron. And I said, okay, so do I just need to eat more? And he said, no, you could eat just iron, but because your body can't absorb it, your numbers aren't going to go up. And I think I got 3 months more of the iron tablets. I was going to get called to go back in, or something went awry. Maybe it was the end of COVID and I moved back down to London. And nothing was said or happened or anything, but I knew that my levels were a 4 at this point. So I just lived my life feeling very tired and being very used to feeling tired. I was contacted by a company in Glasgow that were offering to give me a complete full blood workup if I put it on my story. And I thought, I'll be in Glasgow, so I'll pop in. And on this blood workup, it can tell you, cholesterol, your liver, your white blood count, your iron count. And I thought, well, any, blood tests can take ages. This was a next day result sort of thing. Or it was like 48 hours. And I was like, yeah, great. I'd love to know, what's going on in my body. Bear in mind, I was 32. This happened November 2025. So I went and got the tests done. They were lovely. Then Jordan and I went to Budapest. And when we were in Budapest, I think it was 48 hours later, I got my full workup done. Now this company can't give you medical advice, but they can grade your results to like the traffic light, green, amber, red. And basically what it's to do is to then you get all of your results back. You can contact your doctor and say, I need to talk about this. I got my results back and I had 2 ambers and a red. My red was my iron, which was sitting at a 7. So again, single digits. It's not great. And the other amber markers were one for something in my liver and for something in my bones. And I was really perplexed as to why my iron can't ever seem to regulate, bearing in mind this has been going on for, at this point, 10 years. But I knew that I didn't want to constantly take iron tablets because I think at this point, being a little bit older, I wanted to get to the root of the problem as opposed to just taking iron tablets, knowing that my body couldn't consume iron. But life was busy. I'd done West End and then I'd done Heathers and I'd done Six, and all this stuff was happening that it really did. I was so used to feeling tired and living my life that it did kind of slip my brain. And I do take accountability for not being better with my own body. I had a conversation with someone who, I'm going to keep them anonymous, but it's someone who did not have to do this at all. And I sent my results, which was in like a really, really detailed document, to this individual. And they came back and said it could be the fact that I have heavy periods because I've got endometriosis, which I'd heard so many times before, or had I ever been tested for celiac. And, you know, we see all these TikToks about women being like, definitely got IBS, or got my IBS flare up, or, oh, you know, it's like almost comical that every woman has a problem with some form of shape of bowel digestive system issues. And I was in an Indian restaurant actually with Jordan when we were talking about it, eating Peshwari naan, and I that evening contacted the company in Glasgow again and said, could I have an emergency appointment to get my a celiac test done? Is that something that they could offer? They said yes. I got a train up the next day. I was there at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I got my results the next day. I was back in the northeast, and on my marker it was red, and 7 is a strong positive. No, 7 is a positive for having celiac. 10 is a super strong positive, and mine was 45. That was it. That's when I found out that I have a severe allergy to gluten. And after doing lots of research and taking the advice, was cut gluten out your diet instantly. And because my body was fighting the gluten, which it's allergic to, it was then not letting my body absorb the iron, and that was the issue. Truthfully, it has been 9 months being gluten-free. I'm really strict about it. And I personally feel no difference. I feel just as bloated. I'm sure every woman does. I don't feel like I've got this massive boost of energy. And I really don't feel very different. Now, I googled and it can take up to 2 years, because having repeated amounts of gluten, which is, you know, bread and pasta and soy sauce and gravy and sweets and crisps, and, you know, not that that's all I eat, but you would eat it every day, and I have done for 32 years. And it was saying that it ruins your small intestine, and then it can go into markers such as your liver and your bones, which is why my ones on my first ever test were amber. So I am at a point now where I have contacted a company who do a full body scan and a full blood workup, and I'm going to go in there and see how my body is reacting to not having any gluten for 9 months. I haven't taken iron supplements during this time because I want to see if my body can do it without me giving it iron, because then I can see whether it is the gluten or it's not, because I would find it really difficult to tell one way or the other if I was eating iron tablets every day. And that's where we're at. So I found it quite overwhelming to start with, because there was so much stuff that has gluten, including skincare, hair care. you just farted so bad into my space. It smelled like cabbage. I would be embarrassed. I would look embarrassed if I was you. Blue, you literally just put your bum in my face and did that. That's so unkind. Your bum. That was like powerful. It was like I found it really overwhelming because gluten was in everything, including skincare, hair care, paper straws. I was seeing all this stuff on TikTok and it was sending me into a state of disarray because it is overwhelming. Certain restaurants you can't go to because they can't say it will be a celiac meal. So I am still very much on the road and learning about it, but I also won't let the journey finish here because I have to find out if I'm doing the right thing and making the right choices. And I know some people will say, well, have you seen a doctor since? And the answer truthfully is no. Again, I probably should, but I feel like I've had more information from these two other services than I have from my own personal doctor. Yeah, endometriosis and celiac, and neither of them can be cured as far as I'm aware unless things changed. Both of these things affect my life on a daily basis, and sometimes I go, wow, like I was doing shows 8 times a week, feeling exhausted and feeling in pain. Sometimes I go, wow, we are amazing for being able to do that. I think my message would be if there is something going on, definitely investigate it, and if the answer that you're given, don't maybe just accept like I did. And I wish that I had looked into it further because I could have maybe found out that it was gluten years and years before. It would have been one simple blood test that at the time no one suspected. So yeah, that's my life. That's my life. I haven't spoke about it much, but I think it's important to talk about it. I think people, you get worried, don't you? So then you don't do anything about it, and I don't want that to be the case anymore. So I am on the front foot, and I will let you know how the next scan goes and to see sort of where we're sitting. But if you are someone who has endometriosis, you got this. If you're someone who is celiac, you got this, or any other adverse dietary requirements, which are a pain in the ain. God, I wish I could eat a Peshwari naan, but they don't do that yet. And gluten-free bread. Gluten-free bread kind of tastes like dust, but that's okay. But yeah, so that was a real insight, an honest insight into where I'm at with my health journey just now. I am perfectly fine. I'm great. I live a completely normal life, but it is just navigating it with two big conditions. I think the more we talk about it, the easier it is. You know, the more we talk about big dietary requirements, the more restaurants have to listen and takeaways have to listen. And I was really surprised, especially in places like France and Spain, how easy they were able to adapt things being gluten-free, which I was quite nervous about travelling, thinking, oh God, am I going to be able to eat anything? And although the things I can eat are drastically less, and I can't just open a menu and be like, oh, I want this, 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 and this, it's getting better. Yeah, we'll see what the scan says. Hopefully my body is feeling good, and yeah, I think that's everything. So drink some water, because I know you haven't had enough already, and I'll see you soon. Big love. Bye.